Good evening, everybody. Bishop Randy Dean here for Sunday Night Sanctuary. One more time. Been doing it 3 years and plus, but I love coming here. There's a lot of reasons for that, and one you can see in the title. Say I love you. We're going to get to that. Say I love you. Say I love you. I love you. Maybe you want to do it alone. Practice, because I'm going to push a little more on that whole idea of how we are called to be people of love. But before we get there, I'm going to do what we always do here to set a steady framework of who we are, what we do, how we do what we do. And we start with the Lord's Prayer to keep this firmly rooted. And then we conclude every Sunday night sanctuary with there it is. I dropped my communion cracker. I found it. So if you'll have, in about 20 minutes, communion bread or a cracker at the ready, and drink of your choice, juice or wine, we're going to receive communion together. And I invite anybody who's here, anybody that shows up, wherever you came from, whatever country you're in, whatever denomination you're part of, whatever denomination you have never been a part of and don't want to be part of, couldn't get to be a part of a interdenominational, non-denominational, or denominational, anything, if your life depended on it, because you're out of it, because there's so many abuses that have happened within those structures. And you have heard me, I hope, before. If you haven't, you're going to hear a little bit of it tonight. But before I get there, like I said, we start with the Lord's Prayer. It's a basis. It's a foundation. It's a holding place upon which we can build beautiful structure for beautiful living. So I pray with my eyes open. If you don't know the Lord's Prayer, let me take you along with me. If you do, join me. And I invite you, eyes open, eyes closed, as you, I don't want to say comfortable. Maybe you have to push your comfort level. It's up to you. Here we go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. So if I had been praying with my eyes closed, I would have missed, because I can see in the scrolling here who sends me a message, I would have missed my wife, who's in the other side of the house. I would have missed her saying, I love you. Made my day. She's my first object of love and my inspiration for so much of this right here. So pray with your eyes open. You never know when somebody's going to say, I love you. Now, to the subject at hand. I put in the title there what I really want to talk about, and saying I love you. It's awkward. I get it. I totally get it, but I still challenge people. Say it. Say it to somebody. Say it to somebody you've never said it to before. Say it to complete strangers. Say it to those that are around you. Say it to your children. Say it to your grandchildren. Say it to your spouse. Say it to your brother. Say it to your mother. Say it to your daddy. Find eye contact, full intentionality, and say, I love you. I often, in my radio broadcast, and by the way, that's right here on my sweatshirt. I'm alive to love. All lesser values are potential BS. And that's why I'm the no BS bishop. We'll tell you about how you could get one of these treasures for your life. I'm the no BS bishop because I believe any value lesser than love can devolve into bait and switch, finding a way to pull and push and manipulate people in ways that are illicit. They're illegitimate. They're crooked paths to find a way into somebody's heart. And a crooked path into somebody's heart is usually some means of controlling, fixing, managing, and controlling. And that's dysfunctional. It's broken. Let us all come together some way. I'm inviting you, those of you who have fled the four walls of the church, and you are more than there are those in the church. Those of you who have fled the four walls of the church, I want you to know I understand your dilemma. So much of what happens in that structure is so constricting and demanding and controlling, then it's bait and switch. It's BS. And you're tired of being BS. You're tired of having somebody manipulate you, manage you towards something that after you're done, you have buyer's remorse. But love, real love, and finding a way to say I love you without an agenda, without an addenda, without footnotes underneath it. That's the way of health and life. And in fact, I'm utterly convinced this is the way Jesus said this is the only way. This is the only law. There's one law in this town, and that law is love. There's no other way to navigate spirituality. Christianity has become a thing instead of an organism, instead of an entrepreneurial delight. I use the word entrepreneurial a lot, and I was reminded this week that maybe I should be sure to tell you that entrepreneurial isn't just a business term. To be entrepreneurial is to be creative and dramatic and passionate about what you do. It's to think beyond the ordinary strictures of how to get something done, to see how something can be done better and more beautifully and more creatively. And so, of course, it gets applied in business. But I want to see entrepreneurialism applied to our spirituality so that we're entrepreneurs outside of the regular ideas of finding how to get people in church doors or to navigate doctrinal ideas. Oh, petunias on that stuff. It is so tiring. Love is not tiring. Love is actually, it's buoyant. It holds us up. So I have an imagination that's entrepreneurial, and my imagination says that we should flood the world with voices that are saying, with authenticity. I want to read from a post that I put up earlier today. With authenticity. The world is hungry, dying. We're all hungry and dying for voices all around us in every venue saying, I love you. Slow the words down. Make eye contact. I'm infamous for challenging people on this regard. I've had a little bit of pushback, not super negative, but suggestions that I should be more careful with how it's introduced. And so I've taken some care to introduce it better, to improve my own approach to it, because I don't want to BS people. But I am intentionally after a dream and a notion that love really does answer the prayer of Jesus. And that by this, all people will know you're my disciples. The disciples, the students who've been sitting at the feet of Jesus, learning his ways. And how did we demonstrate that we've learned his ways? That we've extravagantly and like entrepreneurs, we've loved. We've loved outrageously. We've loved sacrificially. And we even at times loved in a way that seemed awkward. Let me address those two words, awkward and startling, because that's in my title. It's awkward because we're unaccustomed to being given to that passion with all people. Love has been diminished and romanticized and simplified, oversimplified. It's been bumper stickerized, and rather than being honestly studied and honestly viewed and looked at carefully. Love has been country music to death. It's been rock and roll to death. It's been Frank Sinatra to death. It's time to raise it to something beyond those simplistic, fun songs, albeit fun, but to get it out of the cotton candy, easy peasy weirdness. Love isn't simply romantic. It is romantic. And yes, I know the Greek words for love are, the eros and the phileo and there's three of them. But I didn't come here to talk to you about that. I find those even a little tired. Love has so many more layers than the three definitions of the Greek definitions of love. Love accompanies friendships. Love accompanies mother-daughter, father-son, cousin to cousin. My being a nephew to an uncle that I dearly loved as a kid and found love for him. But you know what? I never said, hey, Uncle Charles, I love you. I'm going to bet he would have chewed his cigar in two if I had ever said it to him. He was all he had, the ever-present cigar that he chewed. I love you is this startling thing that comes because we're unaccustomed to this beautiful expression. I don't want to make it common, but I do want to make it more regular in our daily priorities. To say I love you, it's startling. It's startling because we don't do it often enough. And it's awkward. And it's awkward for the same reasons. We're not making it a part of our vocabulary. I haven't done it yet, but I'm inviting people to come join me. Say it to a stranger. Why wouldn't we? Well, there's some practical reasons. A stranger might actually slap you or punch you or run away, call the police on you. I get it. But to that end, perhaps some stranger that you meet, some store clerk, some manager of a business, somebody somewhere, perhaps they haven't heard those three words in weeks, months, or perhaps, sadly, years. I've told my story here. I'm not going to belabor it, but I was 18. I was 18 before I ever heard my father say to me, I love you. And he admitted it to me when he first said it. He said, I know I haven't told you. And now, I'll be honest, in that moment, it was awkward and startling. Because, as you'll see from this conversation, so often we say it, and then people feel like, well, I have to say it now because you said it. Don't make that prerequisite. Walk away and just give them a good pat on the shoulder or perhaps a hug or thumbs up and just move on. The awkwardness of your own saying it can present someone else with their own awkwardness. So when my dad said it to me, I felt awkward. It was startling. And in fact, there was a little, I found out later as I evaluated it, there was a little anger in me. And that anger underneath his comment was, right. Yeah, that's right. You haven't. You're the adult in this relationship. So I didn't manage that well at the time or even for quite a while actually after that. But there was anger in there. That's to be understood. That's to be managed well by all of us. There are some relationships that you know of right now where you're probably aware, I haven't really given people the love that they need from me. I'm trying to find the right word. Expect or need, maybe you know what I mean. So to that end, saying it can be upsetting. It brings the emotional baggage up to the front, and we're wondering, now what? Well, now what? We start some healing. I told you I would read from a post I put up earlier this week. Earlier today, actually. And let me do that before I forget it again. Here we go. Here it comes. Be patient. It's coming. When you can't do it right, if you can't write beautiful poetry, and you can't put words into perfectly balanced sentences, somehow, simply and slowly saying, with eye contact, heartfelt intentionality, and a clear-mindedness, I love you, says it all. Every sign-off for my No BS Bishop radio broadcast, coming up to a podcast as we're able, I simply say that clear-mindedness saying, I love you, clears the air, helps clear our mind, slows us down, puts us in a place of full understanding that I'm entering a spot here in somebody's life that I'm going to have to manage well. I can't just assume that this is going to be easy going forward. To do that is to bring us to the full attention of what this word love is demanding of us. The word love demands so much more of us than shallow perceptions, shallow ideals, and shallow cliched approaches. So I came up with Love's Creed. I've shared that with you here before. I'll put it in the comments. Love's Creed is a meditation. It's a contemplation. And Love's Creed is also a way of hearing yourself say, this is what I will do. This is how I will navigate my life. So here's Love's Creed. I'm alive to love. I'm not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I'm alive with plans, dreams, and designs, locked into anything and everything that is love. I'm unavailable for anything less. I'll put that in the comments. But the point for that filter of how to manage life and to relate to the world around me is to put us in a contemplative, meditating mode. How can I be a spiritual entrepreneur about how love is my true north? Love is my basis. Love is how I choose to think. Love is how I choose to prioritize. What would love say? What would love do? I don't want to say tool. That word sounds wrong. A relationship management to bring me back to square one with whoever, especially a child. I wonder often, I do a little bit of substitute teaching, very little bit. And I wonder often with the students that I see, have they heard that? Did they leave home this morning with those words from mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, whoever it is that the responsible adult in their life? Was the responsible adult fully in touch and aware of the importance of that life management skill for that child? I don't know. I wonder it though, and it seems to me to be pretty important for every child to have that in their heart, their mindset, their view of the world around them. I know this is challenging. I know, again, it's startling and it's awkward, but it's altogether a value of how to live life on the Jesus scale of living it. I can't guarantee what I'm about to say. I can only say it and hope to live it at that last breath. I hope my last breath is used to say for somebody, wherever that may be, maybe it's a hospital room, maybe it's an emergency scene, maybe it's my children, my wife, maybe it's nobody. Maybe when I pass from this life to the next, there's nobody there. I hope that's not true, but if it's true, then I want the last words of my life to be, I love you. If I'm alone, then those words will carry me into the next moment when my eyes meet the most loving, kind, gentle, beautiful, and healing eyes in the universe, the eyes of God. We'll look back, and with full eye contact, God will say, oh, Randy, I love you. And once and for all, it won't be so startling, will it? So let's make that our lifestyle today, this moment. I know what I was headed to say, but I didn't finish the thought on my radio broadcast. I always say, I love you are the three most holy, magical, and beautiful words in the human language. Everybody's literally dying to know who says that with meaning. And by the way, who's saying that without ulterior motives? That's a whole nother subject I don't have time to unpack here. And sure, we're concerned about that. We should be. But let's be more concerned that the words aren't stated for all the fears and the negativities that we attach to it. For all the concerns that maybe it'll be misunderstood. Well, of course, maybe it'll be misunderstood. But maybe, just maybe, it'll be understood. Maybe, just maybe, somebody will find their life rescued with three simple words. I love you. That's my message for tonight. I'm going to do this even though I'm not given to doing my singing on Sunday Night Sanctuary. But here's a hymn for life that just about every day I sing this song. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. I see clouds of white, skies of blue, the dark sacred night and the bright blessed day, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I hear friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I'll watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Often, a song like that is sung or played, and it's been given the brand of, oh, that's just feel good. Okay. Wouldn't you like to have a few more feel good moments in your life? Can I invite you to join me in saying, yes, I could use a few more feel good moments. I know I can't guarantee everything's going to be a feel-good moment, but how about inviting it? How about the intentionality of introducing just a feel-good moment? That's why that song's important to me and to some people that ask me to sing it often. I'm not so delirious about this that I think we're going to solve all the world's problems by saying I love you. But neither am I going to be so calloused and hard-headed and hard-hearted as to think perhaps there could be a world healed and improved with a little more of that. I'm not so silly and childish as to think we're going to change everybody and everything. And yet at the same time, I'm taking Jesus' invitation to become as a child with a wide-eyed wonder that why aren't we all saying this more often? Why aren't we all doing this more often? Can't we not all see that this might be a solution to a few things? A few pretty important things? Yeah, I'm not so childish as to think that it solves everything, but neither will I refuse being like a child and offer love. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. Louis Armstrong sang that song in a day and time when the color of his skin created a barrier with him and millions of people around him. And yet he would sing this kind of song. How about we join that spirit and let's say this kind of beautiful passion to a world that's, quite frankly, sucking air right now because of the headlines and the news lines, the 24/7 news cycle that's choking us with hatred. Even if all of us said, I love you to a few people this week, it would be a thimble of effort in response to the butchering hatred that's going on around us, right? So all of my beloved spiritual refugees, I want you to hear a bishop, a pastor of 50 years, look you right in the eyes and say, I love you. You don't have to prove one damn thing. I love you. So it was with Jesus when he took the bread and he had washed the feet of his disciples. He wasn't asking for one blessed thing from them other than come be part of a table, a moment where we're together to have a moment to remember of deep sentiment. It was startling, everything that he had done with the disciples, especially that week in the Passion Week. It was startling. It was awkward. When Jesus washed the feet of Peter, Peter said, no, don't do that. But beyond the awkwardness of the moment, there was deep and passionate love. And so this is the bread. This is the body of Christ broken for us. This bread signifies that he was willing to do the most awkward, the most startling thing in human history to show us a better way than hatred and fighting and brutality with each other. May we eat this bread and remember there's a better way. Through the body sacrifice, the breaking of his own heart to bring us to himself. Bless this bread, Jesus. We break it and we eat with gratitude. And this is the cup of his blood. He said, this is the cup of a covenant, a new covenant. And what was that covenant? Yep. If you had been here before, you know what I'm going to say. The one law. Monday, Thursday, the mandate, Thursday. One law. Love. And as if it needed some emphasis, it was signed in his blood. Love. The mess of his crucifixion was not God killing his son. It was God coming as the Son, surrendering to the brutality of human hatred, and in response to human hatred, saying, I love you. This cup, Jesus, you gave to call us to remember. God came in sacrificial love. Bless this cup to remind us of the path of our life going forward to something more beautiful and better through the love of God and being the love of God in this world. Amen. Thank you for being here tonight. Always a pleasure for me. Always a delight for me to carry something toward you that you can roll around, hold in your hand, and carry it with you for the week to come. And think about, what's that guy talking about? What's he wearing? What's he wearing a hoodie about that says "Alive to Love"? All lesser values are potential BS. Well, today's a little piece of why I do what I do. So, if you need to ask any questions, or if you want more understanding of what this whole love thing is about in my heart, you can write us. Ginger will put up our contact information through my email address. And this, by the way, you can purchase through Loveware by the No BS Bishop. The contact and the link for that will be in the comments. We just got a really cool private message today from somebody saying, I get to wear your heart on my own chest. I can wear your message, and that makes me happy. Excuse me. So, again, and as if for emphasis, and as if it hasn't been said already 14 times in the last half hour, let me give it to you straightforward, clear, eye contact. If nobody's said it to you lately, here's one somebody on social media saying the three most magical, holy, and powerful words in the human language. I love you. Thank you for the privilege and the honor of connecting with you in that simple yet powerful way. Peace, love. Now get out there and do something beautiful. And may the beauty that you do is startling somebody this week with those three words. Peace, love, and happy trails, y'all.